All right, good morning. So there were these two little brothers. They were young, and boy, were they trouble. Their mother just could not get them to behave. They were fighting at school. They were stealing other kids' lunches. They were in trouble all the time. So finally, she decides the thing to do as a last resort, she is going to send them to talk to the pastor. So she sends the older one first. And he's sitting in the pastor's office, and he's sitting in a big chair, and he's sitting like this, and he's swinging his legs. And the pastor looks at him and says, "Where is God?" And the kid just sits there. And he points to him and says, "I'm asking you a question. Where is God?" And he's just, it's there. He says, "All right, this is the last time. I'm asking you, where is God?" And with that, the little boy jumps up and runs out of the pastor's office, and he runs all the way home. And when he gets there, he sees his little brother. And the little brother says, "What happened at the pastor's office?" And he says, "Nothing, but God is missing, and they think we did it." So, I'm going to talk this morning. My topic is very, very simple. Be nice or go home. Okay? And I think this really applies everywhere in life. So it's not just about other people. It's also about us. If we can't be nice and we catch ourselves, we should just go home. We should just go home, have a nice little time out, regroup, chill out, relax, get civil, and then we can go back out into the world and play some more. It's not just about other people who we want to say, be nice and go home to. But I would say it includes them. So the first scripture I ever learned was from Ephesians, and it's very simple. It's just 3 words. Be ye kind. I always liked that because I thought that ye kind of had a royal flair to it, you know? And it's like, be ye kind, you know, ye royal people, ye, you know? So I like that. Be ye kind. It's very simple. But, you know, for us, metaphysically, spiritually, it's the basic law of consciousness, that what you give out is what you get back. And so as we continue to grow spiritually, we become more aware of this all the time. Oh, the energy that I'm putting out, the thought, the way I'm being in the universe is what the universe is in fact giving back to me. So in every situation, we could ask ourselves, how could I be a blessing here? How could the energy of my life be a blessing in this situation? Because in truth, what's happening all the time is we individually, by how we live our life, by how we think, by how we act in the world, we are either adding to the light in the world or we are contributing to the darkness. You know, and so what's possible for us, I believe, is that good will come from one of those. Actually, we know which one it is. I used to see this woman, I still see her. She was is an acupuncturist and a nutritionist and all these things. And she would say to me, what I want you to do before you eat anything is look at it or hold it and say, all right, will this add to my chi or will this take away from it? Will this add to my life force? Will it give me more aliveness or will this deaden me? Right? Now, I have to say, my confession to all of you is that I was really fond of the deadening menu. And so my work with her has really made me much more conscious and much more aware, you know, that there is a life force present and that's what I want to be courting. You know, if we think only about ourselves, that's going to be a very small, lonely existence. It's a very small, lonely world, I believe. Because I think that the secret of happiness, and everybody wants to know the secret of happiness, there are several books that are written about it every year, and I think it comes down to one thing. The secret of happiness is to think of other people first. That's it. It's pretty simple. Think of other people first. It's not that hard, because ultimately this is what's most fulfilling in life. To think of other people first. People want to be fulfilled, and this is what does it. That we think of others first. But you know, because we believe in lack, because we think that, you know, there's not enough to go around, we get fearful. What about me? What about mine? What about my needs? You know, how am I going to get what I want out of this? You know, that what you give out comes back. Exactly. Now, sometimes it's hard to believe that because it doesn't come back from where we think it should. Right? And now, that's not our business. See, the fact that what we give out comes back, the comeback is God's business. All right? And so we can trust that the universe keeps perfect records. It will always seek to maintain the balance. So if you've put good out there, if you've put love out there, if you've put kindness out there, then that is coming back to you. It may not come from where you think. I'm sorry. You know, now I've always heard that actions speak louder than words. Didn't you hear that as a kid? Sure, actions speak louder than words. And you know what it says in the scriptures, that people know us by our fruit. So one of the ways I like this is the way Emerson said this long ago, is that he said, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying." You know, so we could blather on and on and on about, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, but it's reflected, it's expressed in how we act toward each other. So some years back, we were in Maui a few years ago, and we went into this store. You know, and Hawaii's great because sometimes there'll be stores that sell new stuff and used stuff and old stuff and homemade stuff and edible stuff, all in the same place. All in the same place. And there was the saleswoman there, and she was just so snarky. She was just as nasty as could be, and I was so shocked because I thought, my God, you're in paradise. You know, what are you in such a bad mood for? And she was just critical of everyone and everything, and she was just, and so I said, I thought, well, I'm just going to charm her. That was my mission. I was like, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna try and charm her. And so I went up to the counter and I said, so, what brought you to Hawaii? And she went, I'm a healer. And it's like, well, you could have fooled me. How's that working for you? And I just, you know, because it was like, who you are speaks, and she wasn't doing much healing work, I'm here to tell you. That, you know, and that was her complaint. That people were not interested in what she, it's like, well, who you are speaks so loudly. This is the thing. To love is a verb. It's an action word. Remember that from when you were a kid in school? Verbs are action words. So to love requires action. It's easy to be good to those people who've been good to us. Those people who are being good to us. Now, I know that everybody has to learn for themselves according to their own arc of their own personal growth. But I think early on, and I think this is so for most people, we spend time not being our parents and not making their mistakes, right? That we don't realize until it's already happened, oh no, I was already shaped by those patterns. I did exactly those things I said I would never do. I mean, how often am I surprised that I hear myself just absolutely channel my parents and say something that I swore I would never say? You know, it just like comes out of me and say, wow, that's still in there. You know, because we repeat what we know, but as we grow more conscious, we direct more of our own lives. As we grow more conscious, we direct more of our own lives. We make our own choices consciously. You know, so this is how I choose to be now. This is how I choose to be today. This is the kind of person I'm deciding I want to be. Remember, love is something that we do rather than just something that we feel. It's something that we do. Because love is an activity. It's not like some stagnant state. You know, it's an activity. So I think that also that love, that kindness, that this is a process, you know, and it needs constant practice. And when we constantly choose to be kind rather than, say, rude or hurtful or critical or aggressive, we really do become kind because there's a spiritual principle involved. And the principle is that what we practice, we become. You know, so we practice being kind and we practice being loving again and again and again. And over time, it shapes us. We become different by the fact that we have chosen again and again, just for today, just in this situation, just in this one encounter, I will be kind, I will be loving. See, I believe that basically, we're all good. People are basically good. But we have to choose to reveal this goodness through our activities, through the way we show up in the world. So being kind means doing good. Now, this is different than being nice. You know, people who are nice, oh, they're so nice. You know, that is often generated by trying to please other people to get, trying to get their approval, right? But usually what's happening there is that they are unconsciously suppressing some error. They're pushing down some darkness because they don't want to deal with it, and so they're operating over it. Now, eventually that's going to come out. That's going to come out. A woman said to me, well, don't you? She said, well, I don't go to church, but I do try to be nice. I think that's the important thing, don't you? And I said, no. And she was so shocked. Well, don't you think it's important to be nice? Well, I think it's better than being not nice. But I think the thing is that, this is what a spiritual path does for us, that when you're on a spiritual path, we start to look and say, okay, I'm operating over something. That's not healing. Operating over is just like frosting. It's not really dealing with what the issue is. Because true kindness comes from that place of God, that place of spirit within us. God is the love that's within each and every one of us. And I think that we are most like God when we are giving of ourselves, when we're giving from that place of the best that's within us, regardless of how other people are behaving. When we're giving of our love, just because we've made a conscious choice today in this situation, in this relationship with this person, I'm going to show up differently. I'm going to be loving. I'm going to be kind, regardless of what they do, because this is about my karma. This is about what I put into the universal mind. So in preparing my talk this week, I remembered something that I hadn't thought about for a long time. This happened over 30 years ago when I was going to a seminary downtown. If those of you who were here in Los Angeles 30 years ago, you remember that downtown was not nearly as nice as it is now. Downtown has really come a long way in the last 30 years. 30 years ago, you could go to the Museum of Modern Art and Gorky's and then get the heck out. That was all you did downtown. You went to Gorky's for Russian coffee cake, you went to the museum, and you left downtown because it was just not a real desirable place to be. So one night, our school was mostly in the evenings. One night we were having class and there was a professor who was lecturing to us, and a homeless person who clearly had been drinking wandered into our classroom. And so the instructor immediately called for the break, and everybody took a break and kind of cleared away. And without really giving it any thought, I went up and I introduced myself to the person, and I said, hello, what's your name? I'm Mark, have a seat, sit down. So he sat down and I kneeled in front of him and I said, what can I do to help you? What are you looking for? What do you want? And he said he thought this was the church. And I said, oh no, the church is next door, it's closed tonight. But I said, we've got food, we've got coffee, would you like something? And he said, sure. And so I got him a cup of coffee and I got him a sandwich, and we talked for a few more minutes, and then very politely he thanked me and he left. And so I didn't really think anything about that. So months later, I was talking to a woman who was my first contact for a job at a big church that I would go serve at for 3 years down in Orange County. And so Peggy Bassett was the minister of that church. It was a big, exciting church, and I was really excited about applying for a position there. And so the woman I talked to, I was saying, well, you probably want to know, my job history and what I've done, all that stuff. And she went, no, she said, I know exactly who you are. And I was kind of like, huh? And she said, I was in the classroom that night when the homeless man walked in, and she said, I know exactly who you are. And she said, and as far as I'm concerned, you've got the job. And I was like, wow. But see, this is about how the universe keeps perfect balance, I did what I thought was the right thing over here, and I didn't do it to get anything from it. It was just the highest good I knew to do in that moment, and the universe kept track of it. And so later on, it came back to me. And that was a job that absolutely changed the course of my life and my ministry. So the universe is always keeping perfect records. The universe is always trying to balance the accounts. And so people often say, well, I would do more for them, but they don't appreciate me. I would be nicer to them, but they just never say thank you. And so I say, you do it for you. You do it because your consciousness, spirit, God within you tells you this is the right thing to do. Not for the thanks. Thanks or not. Do it because this is the type of person you want to be in the world. If there are givers and takers in the world, in the final analysis, it is better to be on the side of the givers. So my sister told me this story, that there was a woman in her office who, and my sister likes everybody. She really does. She is like the kindest person. She just likes everybody. And there was a woman in her office who was just as snarly as could be. She was unpleasant to everybody. And my sister told me that one day she just got the idea, because the snarly woman was always the last one in the morning. And so everybody else would be there and working when she came in. And my sister got the idea that she was just going to anonymously leave her a little gift on her desk one morning. And so she did. And the woman came in and was like, "What's this? For me? A gift for me?" I mean, she was shocked. Apparently nobody had ever given her anything, you know? And my sister didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew where it came from. And she went, "No, I don't know. Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with me." And she said the woman was like ridiculously delightful all day long. That she just felt so honored by somebody, like she had a secret sweetheart in the office or something like that. It was really, really sweet, you know? And I said, well, you know, that shows us that it's in there. That it's in there. You know, and so it's just our job to always invite it out, you know? Like, hey, I know love and kindness is in there. Come on out and play. It's really fun. It's really fun. You know, it's not a new idea, but I do love the notion of random acts of kindness and senseless acts of beauty. There should always be beauty, too, you know? But I think, so my invitation this week to all of us is to do a random act of kindness. Do something nice for somebody, and don't let them know it was you. You know, nobody needs to know. When I was a Boy Scout years ago, before the Boy Scouts got political, and stupid, sorry. One of the things was always to do a good turn daily. And it was a nice thing. And I remember our scoutmasters, they were these great guys, and they would always say, remember to do a good turn daily. And you don't have to tell anybody about it. You know, it was just they were coaching us in a way of being in the world that was a good way to be. They were helping to shape us. You know, if it's in the course of church today, you know, 600 plus people will come to church here today between all services. If everybody who came to church here did just one kindness, you know, in the week ahead, just one thing, that's a lot of extra kindnesses that happen in the world. You know, you could touch somebody's life by buying them a cup of coffee or holding open a door for them or letting them cut in front of you on the freeway. I don't really care what it is, but you could just do that. But you don't know how your kindness touches somebody else's life. I think with my sister's coworker, she probably went home and was probably nicer to her kids that night. I think she was probably nicer to her husband. She was probably nicer to herself. You know, because she felt a little love and kindness come to her. And so I think we have that same opportunity. You know, so I would love for all of us, if we were willing, you know, because, you know, there's never been a time in history where people said, oh, that was an age of way too much kindness on the face of the earth. Oh, what a mistake. What a time that was. People just loving each other and being nice and caring for each other. So just pick something, do it with love, and do it quietly. You know, be the blessing in somebody's life. Don't let them know it was you. And see how good you will feel. I promise you, you will feel really, really good when you go to bed that night. For me, this is really what Jesus taught, to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. Very simple. Love your neighbor as yourself. Of course, he was assuming you were being nice to you. So you would therefore also be nice to your neighbors. You know, in St. Paul's letter to the Galatians, he says, every opportunity we have, we should be good to people. Every opportunity. And you know what I love about life? Life gives us lots of opportunities, doesn't it? There's just a lot. People just keep showing up. And it's like, well, here's my opportunity. Well, here's another opportunity. Well, here's even another opportunity. This is how we make a difference in the world. You know, and it may be that we've been thinking, you know, well, you know, I can't do anything really, really big, so it's not worth doing. And I think that's not true. I think that's absolutely not true. Mother Teresa said there are no great deeds. There are only small deeds done with great love. And we are all capable of small deeds with great love. There was an elderly man who was walking down the beach, and his routine was to walk on the beach every morning, and then he would sit in a beach chair, and he had a journal, and he would write. And one day he saw a little boy walking towards him along the beach. And as they got closer, he asked the little boy what he was doing. The little boy was reaching down and picking up these starfish that had washed up on the beach, and he'd fling them back into the ocean. And the old man, said, well, what are you doing? And the kid said, well, the sun's going to get really high soon. They will dry out. They will die on the beach if they don't get back in the water. And he throws another one, and he throws another one. And the old man's watching him, and he says, he said, you're just one person. You cannot possibly make a difference for all these starfish. And the little kid reaches down, picks up another one, and throws it and says, well, there, I just made a difference for that one. And that's kind of how we can look at the things that we do with each other, for each other in life. That all right, I may not be able to change the entire world, but I can help put a little more light and a little more love and a little kindness into someone else's life here. I think we want to not miss the opportunity to do good. And there's always, always something we can do. Part of this metaphysically is that you're telling the universe that you are a big enough person, you are a big enough being in consciousness that you always have something of value to give to every person who crosses your path. That every situation, you're willing to be a light and an energy of love and an energy of blessing, whoever shows up, whatever shows up. People are waiting. They're saying, oh, what do I need to do to be blessed? What do I need to do to have a life that, that is just, full and abundant and loving and all this stuff? Yes, you want to be blessed, don't you? Hell yeah, absolutely. Sign me up. Well, then I think the way that happens is that we start to cultivate an energy of giving our life away. That we think of other people first. That we think of ourselves as somebody who is big enough in consciousness that I always have something to give. Because what we're doing when we're kind, when we're loving, when we give of ourselves is that we're sowing seeds. And those seeds will rise up later on, down the road. So in the morning when we start our day, we could say, God, how can I be a blessing today? Just show me, God. How can I be a blessing today? Show me and I'll do it. Just show me, I'll do it. So what's going to happen is that God will give you an idea. God will say, be nice to this person. Call this person. Pay for that person's coffee. Do this. And so the thing is to not question it. Just go with it. Just do it. Just do with it and see how you feel. Are you game? Yeah. All right. One random act this week. Let's pray. So we turn our attention inward for a moment to recognize that we are surrounded and filled with the energy, the light of the Father, Mother, God. That right here, Spirit is fully present by means of each and every one of us. And so I know we are made in its image and likeness, and that means that there is already within us an abundance of love enough to be shared with the world. And so I speak this word for us that it's very easy in the days and week ahead for us to do some kindness into the world that we're not looking to be acknowledged for. Just doing it because God gives us the idea and it's the right thing to do. And so I claim for each and every one of us that the universe balances the accounts. That because we've put good out, because we've put love and kindness into the world, I know that it comes back to us in a multitude of ways. And we stand as open, willing vessels for God's love in our life and in our world. So we include in our prayer today all of the people that we love, all of those that we carry in our hearts, parents and children and friends and family members, people we work with, our neighbors, whoever comes into our mind. And we remind ourselves that God is right there where they are. And so from our heart to theirs, we extend an energy of love and blessing and goodwill. We bless our church. We bless all churches everywhere. Synagogues and temples and mosques and ashrams, all paths to God. And all of those situations in the world that are pulling at our attention, we say God is right there. Even in the midst of that, God is present. And I stand as a beacon of light claiming that healing is happening. So with a grateful heart, I give thanks for all of us together. I know we're all raised up. Our faith is increased. that we're blessed in consciousness. And with a full heart, I just release this word, and so it is. Together we all say, Amen.